Hello students, good day. Students, you all like to listen to stories. At the same time, you all like to tell stories also. Yes. Are you all ready? Now I am going to show you some pictures. First of all, look at the pictures and try to tell me what is happening in the pictures. Of course, this is a popular story of a father and sons. Now look into the pictures. I'll show you the pictures. Can you look here? Can you see here? Yeah. Who is he? Of course, he is father. And who are they? What is happening here? Yeah, you are all correct. He is taking some money from the father. Now you can see here. Yeah, he is drinking. He fell to bad habits. Now, yeah, you can see here. He is even having food with the pigs. Students, can you imagine what is happening here? And what is happening at the end of the story? This is a popular story from your textbook. Now, can you tell me what the story is about? What the story is about? And would you name the story at the end? Yeah, students, you are all answered to these questions. And this is the story of a father and two sons. And what happened to the second son? Like that, you all responded. Now, at the end of the story, you have to name the story. Now, I will go to detail and I will show the pictures. Once again, as I explain to you the story, as I tell you the story, you have to respond as and when you try to tell me the story. Are you all ready, students? Now, I am going to show you the story. Yeah, you can see here. You can see here. You can see his Dhanaraju, yeah, his elder son Ganiraju, and he is Poturaju. Yeah, once there was a rich man, his name was Dhanaraju, his elder son's name was Ganiraju, and younger's name was Poturaju. Poturaju was disobedient, was very disobedient. He had never gone to fields, whereas Ganiraju, his elder son, was very obedient, and he always listened to his words. So Poturaju demanded his property, his share of property from his father, and his father was heartbroken. He was very sad. Though he was very sad, he gave the money, all the money to his son, and Poturaju took the money. And here you can tell me, of course, yeah, you are all. Soon Poturaju fell into bad company. All friends gathered around him. He drank the money, the entire money. He spent the money lavishly. Now there was a famine. He had no work. All friends left him. So Poturaju had no work to do. He even took the work of feeding pigs. Students here. He fed pigs, and even he had food with pigs. Yeah, what is happening here? Yeah, you are all correct. Here, while Poturaju was having food, he was thinking about his father's house. Even he thought that in his father's house, even a servant would have good food, a better food than he had now. Yeah, you can see here. Now, Poturaju thought that he would return to his father's house and beg his father that he would work as a servant in his house. You can see here, yeah, as Poturaju thought of returning his home, by the time his father Dhanaraju had waited for him. Of course, he had been waiting as he returned home. He saw his son from the window and he immediately ran out of the house and he hugged his son. As he was hugging his son, Poturaju knelt on the feet of his father and he begged his pardon to forgive him and to take him as his servant in the house. but you can see here what Dhanaraju might have said. No son, no, you are not a servant, you are my son. You can as well come into your house and you can remain as a good son to us. Students, what you have watched out of the son, or out of the lesson, you can watch the greatness of the father, and his compassionate. His father is compassionate, and his forgiveness. So, like students, we all watch our fathers. You all respect and watch your fathers. How your fathers lead you in your respective lives. What is the role of father in our life? Like that, we have to think and analyze how and why our father is making us realize in our goals, to realize in our goals. So, can you name the story about? Yeah, the story of, it is a story of human relations. You can name it the story of human relations, or you can name it the repentance, because Pothrazu repented at the end, realization. So, it is a good relation, good human relation between father and his sons. Now, you can see here how human relations take a lead role in our life. You can see here, students, you can see here how human relations take a role here. You can see here, a child is the father of man. A child is the father of man. A child becomes an adult. Adult becomes an old man. Once again, the child becomes a father of a child. So, this is an incessant cycle. So, this is a popular quotation by Shakespeare, child is the father of the man. You can see here famous Shakespeare. So, in his writings, he has expressed the relationship, the great relationship between father and son, and the cycle between a child and adult. Now, we are coming to the party, we are coming to the lesson. The name of the lesson is the journey. Yeah, you can expect that we are going to learn the lesson. The name of the lesson is journey. Yeah, in this lesson journey, you will come across a great father who always tried to help his son, who always provided good education to his son, and who always like to see that his son develops in his life. So, this famous story, the journey, is written by, here you can see, written by Est Dozi Tongzi. He is a famous Assamese writer. He was a civil servant, and you can see here in the story, the narrator, the hero of the lesson is educated, and he returned to his village to get married. So, the narrator got married and he had to stay here in his village, in his traditional tribal village for 6 months. After the marriage, the narrator had to leave for his workplace, that is Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. So, the narrator had to start from his tribal village to Dirang, where he could get a bus, and from Dirang to he had to return to his workplace Tawang. So, as the narrator was well educated, and the narrator did not like to carry his luggage, as he was coming from his workplace to get married, he had made somebody to carry his luggage. So, at the time of his return, he thought that he would feel insulted if he carried his luggage. So, he awaited the villagers would come and carry his luggage. At the time, the villagers were fully engaged in their works. So, the narrator's father was a great figure. He came forward to carry the son's luggage. So, at the beginning, the narrator was not interested that his father would carry his luggage, but at the end, he had to obey his father's words, as his father was carrying his luggage on the bank, the trunk on the bank. The narrator was following him through the you can see here the road here. So he can see here. So he is Dirang to Tawang. The narrator had to take a bus. So the father has to see him off at the bus station. Now you can see here the road that they had to take. The road was very pebble-strewn road, and the roads were not used. Not many motorcycles went through the road. They had to follow through this road. So while they were going through the forest, the narrator and his father did not speak to each other, and they had their own feelings in their minds. So as the narrator reached the father, he saw his father was very tired. The father wanted to take some wine, some homemade wine. So he opened the bag. So they were having wine. You can see here. After they had the wine, they started. Of course, they started before they had the wine. Students, you can see here, that is an old tribal tradition to drink wine in their respective lives. So that's why they had wine. After that, they started and they went to the place. Now, students, you can see here, up to this story you learnt in the previous class. Now we are going to read the reading comprehension paragraph. So in the beginning you have to watch here how a girl is reading. So before that before this group reading, you have to read silently. You can see here you have been formed into groups, and you try to read silently the paragraph. Before this, you can see that you are reading silently. So you have to come from here. So you have to read this paragraph silently. How the girls are reading silently, and while you read silently, you have to underline the words that you come across, the strange words that you come across, or you have to put an asterisk or right mark if you have understood, and you have to put a question mark if you don't understand the word while you read silently. So most of you, while you read silently, you cannot read as and when you get doubts regarding the pronunciation and the meanings of the words, then you have to form into groups like this. You have to form into groups, and after forming groups, you have to underline the words, as the girl here, Priyanka here, doing underlining the word or putting a question mark here. You have to make out the word with your groups. Of course, teacher will help you while you try to read and understand the story on your own. Now this is a loud reading. So after reading silently, you have to come to loud reading. The teacher will read aloud and make one of you to read it aloud. So by this time, you all have had understanding about the story, and we have to read aloud along with the student, so that the students who are unable to read on their own, they could follow here and they have to read here. But by this time, students, you all try to read silently the story. After the narrator came to the bus stop and he was trying to bid his son farewell, from that paragraph you have to read here. And after that, you try to read in groups. As and when, while you were reading in groups, you might have had doubts. While you have doubts, that you try to clarify the doubts with your friends. Then you try to read aloud. Then your teacher will read aloud. So you have to follow here. So I will read aloud. Students, while I read, you have to follow my reading, and as and when after reading for 2 or 3 passages, 2 or 3 paragraphs. I will ask you some questions. You have to ask to my questions. Now, are you all ready, students? Yes. Father had provided for my education, and I had been able to realize his dreams. My parents were truly proud of me. It was through me that they had earned a greater degree of admiration and respect from the villagers. So, students, here you can watch a verb has been underlined here, had provided and had been. So, you have to remember these verbs. At the later part of the lesson, we are going to learn regarding had provided and had been. So, well, students, I will go to the another passage here. My father would not like to see me carrying a trunk on my back and would be very hurt if I did so. I concluded that it would be better to let him carry it. So, by this time I have read two slides and one paragraph. I would like to ask you a question from this paragraph. Are you all ready to ask my questions? Yeah, you can see here the question here. They had a greater degree of admiration. They had a greater degree of admiration. The question here, you could see here, who were they referred here? Here, they had earned a greater degree of admiration. Who were they referred here? Yeah, you can see here. Once again, we have to find the answer. You have to go back to the passage, and you can see here, my parents were truly proud of me. So, it was through me that they had earned a greater degree. So, here they is referred to my parents. That means that the narrator's parents. Now, you can see here the answer. Who are they referred here? Yeah, answer is my narrator's parents. So, after that I will show you what did the narrator conclude. Yeah, you can see the answer. Then I concluded that it would be better to let him carry it. I concluded it would be better to let him carry it. So, what does it refer here? What does it refer to here? It is referred to carrying the luggage. So, here what did the narrator conclude? Here you can say it would be better to let the father to carry it to luggage. So, by this time, students, you read one paragraph and you tried to answer 2 questions that were given in the paragraph. While I was reading the paragraph, you all tried to follow me, and as I was reading, I asked you to underline some words, had provided and had earned, and I informed you that we would discuss these had provided and had earned in the later part of the lesson. By students, are you all ready to go to the second paragraph? Do you want me to continue the second paragraph? Yes, I am going to read it the second paragraph. So, you can see here the second paragraph. Father was used to carrying luggage anyway. He was stronger and more skilled than me in these matters. I had never got used to physical labor, having stayed in hostels right from my childhood. And so, in spite of my youth and strength, I was physically useless. I continued walking silently with father. We rested at 2 places on the way and had our tiffin, but we hardly talked. Finally, we reached the wrong. So, I will ask you some questions in this paragraph. Why was the narrator physically useless? Why was the narrator physically useless? And you can say here, having stayed in hostels right from his childhood, the narrator was physically useless. That means that he was not used to do hard work. He was not used to bear weights. So, he had become physically useless. Now, I will ask you some more question. before I ask you a question, we shall go to the next paragraph. The bus from Tawang had not yet reached Dirang, so we had some time in hand. We entered a tea shop and sat facing each other. Father appeared tired. I felt sorry for him, but couldn't bring myself to say anything. Here, you can see had not yet reached here, and we shall go to the next paragraph. Why was the narrator physically and had not yet reached? So, I asked the waiter to get us 2 cups of tea. Just as I was going to take my first sip, I heard father's voice. You have a pair of old shoes. Why? I asked. So, students, once again I go through the last paragraph. I asked the waiter to get us 2 cups of tea. Just as I was having to take my first sip, I heard father's voice. You have a pair of old shoes. Why? I asked. The students, of course, I will ask you the questions regarding this paragraph after a while. So, at the end of the conversation, when the father had asked his son whether he had had a pair of old shoes, then the son was confused, he was nonplussed, and he had asked his father why. Why, students? Could you imagine that why the father had asked his son whether he had had a pair of old shoes? Yeah, you are all correct. After that, the narrator looked down and saw his father's bare foot. So, till now the father had accompanied him with the bare foot, and he had bore the luggage. He has borne luggage, the entire luggage, with the bare foot. So, he wanted to get an old shoe from his father, from his son, of course. Then the narrator understood that his father had no shoes. So, the narrator asked him why. Why? Then the father asked him to lend him his old shoes. The narrator gave him his new pair of hunting shoes, and the father was quite happy, and he wore the new pair of hunting shoes, and he was happy, and he bid farewell to his son. So, students, I will ask you some questions regarding this paragraph. You can see here, father appeared tired. Why? Yeah, you are all correct. Because he carried his trunk. He carried his trunk. Why did the narrator and his father have some time? Yeah, you can imagine here, as the bus from Tawang had not yet reached, they had some time. Yes, they had some time. As the bus from Tawang had not yet reached Dirang, they had some time. So, students, here had, this is only a simple past tense. So, by this time you try to read a paragraph in your textbook, and here after the father asked him whether his son had had an old pair of shoes, the son gave him his new pair of the hunting shoes, and father wore the hunting shoes, and he was happy, and he bid farewell to his son. You can see here how he gave farewell to his son. The son was going to his working place Tawang, and the father was happy with the hunting shoes. Of course, they went in different directions. This was his son's journey, and this was in the father's journey. So, at the end they had to go in the opposite directions. Though there was a conflict in their respective minds, the son had some love and respect regarding his father, and the father also had got love and affection towards his son. So, this is the story of the lesson, students. Students, like this, as the father in the story, you can visualize and imagine your own fathers in your daily lives, how your father was sacrificing to see you in a good position, how your father trying to lead you, how your father tolerating you. Do you all respect your fathers from today? Yeah, you are all good students. You all like to love your father and mother, and you have to give a great admiration and fascination towards your father. Now, students, as I asked you to look into some sentences and to take out some sentences like had provided and had been, the bus had not yet reached. Now, I am going to show you on the blackboard these sentences. Here you can see this girl is reading aloud, had provided, had been able to realize, had earned, had not yet reached, had never got used to. Of course, students, you are all watching her while this girl Arshad is reading aloud. You all try to recognize the verbs. Now, I will show you in detail: had provided, had been able to, had earned, had never got used, had not yet reached. So, by this time, students, you can watch here had, it is the past tense form of had.